haven't sent his regrets. And he asked me, though, to do a lesson on circles. So we're going to talk about circumference and area. If I give you a shape like this, and I can ask you to calculate the distance around this shape.
35, Mom.
Okay, so we're adding up all the sides. So it comes to what?
35.
35. Right. So what is the term that we use for that when we find the distance around something?
Perimeter.
Okay.
You just use a ruler and go on.
Now I have here my lovely can of corn, a drink, and a bottle. So I need to know is the distance around these containers. So can I have 3 people come up and try and measure the distance around them for me? Sandra.
You got a ruler?
I do. I have a tape measure and I have a yardstick.
You cut this board.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were doing it around.
Who's the measuring tape?
Keeps this.
All right. So now, was that easy to measure that?
Absolutely.
Not quite as easy as if I asked you to measure this desk. There wouldn't have been any thinking about it, right? We would have just come up, taken the measuring tape. And that's the problem with anything that's circular in shape. And generally, we need to know the distance around circular. The circumference is the word. Yes, that's the word I was hoping you were going to say. The circumference, we call it perimeter when it's a square object, and circumference when it's a round object. But in business, all those calculations are very important because the label that Sandra tried to peel off, she knew that it was equal to the distance around, right? So if I'm setting up a machine to print labels, I don't want to be wasting my paper. So I need to know exactly what the dimensions of that label will be. So instead of trying to measure around, we use a formula. It's a shortcut. So here's my center, and I'm going to draw a straight line through the center.
That's the diameter.
The diameter, right. This is the diameter. So the area around it is called the what? Circumference. The middle point is called the center. I have my 3 circles, and as I said, one has a diameter of 10, one has a diameter of 30, and the other one has a diameter of 50. I'm going to tell you that the circumference of these circles, this one is 31.419.
Yes, Emma.
This one is 94.2478. And this one is 157.0796. Okay? So these are the diameters, and these are the circumference. We're going to do an activity called a think, pair, share. Okay? So what a think, pair, share is, I'm going to give you a question. You spend 2 minutes thinking about it, and then you spend 4 minutes with a partner talking about it, and then we're going to compare our results for 4 minutes. So my question for you is there a relationship between the circumference and the diameter? And if so, what is it? Okay, so I want you to think about this. Write your ideas down for a second, for 2 minutes. And then you're going to grab the person next to you and compare your results and talk about it. All right, so now turn to the person beside you, behind you, whatever. And share your thoughts. Compare what you were thinking with what they were thinking.
They all multiply by the same number to get the answer.
Do they agree? Do you agree with that, Jill?
I right there. They don't need to agree.
Okay, Sandra.
When you divide the circumferences by the diameters, they all got the same number too.
They do. there's a common ratio. If I take the circumference of each circle and divide it by
The
its
diameter.
diameter, I'm going to get the same number. And what's that number?
3.1415. That's called pi, right?
That's called
Pi.
pi. That's right. What it represents is the relationship in a circle between the diameter and the circumference.
Oh, see.
Any circle in the world that you could possibly create, if you take the circumference and you divide it by the diameter, you will get pi. So from that information now, can we come up with a formula for the circumference?
See that?
Because we know we have to find circumference, right?
There's a radius times diameter times.
Yeah. So if I take the diameter and I multiply it by pi,
So that's
you get
16
the
up there.
circumference. I'm going to get the circumference. Now, what if though I take my center of my circle and I draw lines from the center to the edge of the circle, and I can draw as many lines as I want. They will always be the same.
Distance from the center.
Yeah, from the center to the circumference will always be the same distance. Just like if I take a straight line and draw it all the way across on my diameter, as long as I'm going through the center, they will always be the same. So will any point from the center to the circumference. And that has a special name too.
Radius.
Then the formula, instead of being C equals D times pi, becomes C equals D is equal to 2R? 2R. 2R pi. Okay, I have some questions for you. Let's practice that with. All right, so let's quickly just go through the answers. You want to just shout out what you got for 1? 6.28. Everyone okay with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
The other important measurement that we want to know with
So why you
circles
never jumped in, Teller?
is the area. So if I want to know this area, because we will later on use the area to find out the volume. So how much it will actually hold. We're not going to go that far right now, but you need to know that in order to find out how much something will hold. The formula, and I am going to give you this one because it's a little bit harder to come up with. Area, and it's very, very close to the circumference, so you have to be careful you don't get them confused, is pi, again with the pi, but this time r is squared. And r squared means r times r. So it's not 2r, this means r plus r. It's r squared, r times r.
2R will mean 2 plus R.
R plus
2r means
R plus R.
is r plus r times pi.
Oh.
But this is
R
Times
times
R.
r times r.
Oh, okay.
So not only do the numbers get multiplied, the units do. So a centimeter times a centimeter is a centimeter squared. Whenever we're representing area, because we've multiplied units, that's why we always have centimeters squared. Give you another quick one. So make sure when you're reading the questions that you're distinguishing between diameter and radius.
He's trying to use the circumference.
Right? You don't want to be squaring the diameter. So your homework will be page 535.
One page?
1 to 12. One more thing before you leave. Exit slips.
That can't be an
Two
exam.
really quick questions. Just hand them in as you leave.
Oh.
So I know.
Oh.
I know how. we're
Well, if I
doing.
get them wrong, I mean you staying back.
Okay, so just drop them slips off on the way by.